Have you ever experienced that unsettling sensation that something wasn't quite right, yet found yourself unable to pinpoint exactly what? It's as though your choices weren't completely your own, as though some unseen hand was steering your decisions. Maybe you found yourself doing favors you had no desire to do, backing down in disputes where you knew you were correct, or placing trust in individuals who later revealed their true nature. If any of this resonates with you, and I'm certain it does, then what follows is meant for you. The harsh reality is that manipulation surrounds you constantly, executed by those in your inner circle, by media institutions, by authority figures, by anyone who understands how to pull the hidden levers of human psychology. The most troubling aspect? You remain completely unaware. There's no need for theatrical hypnosis or dramatic mind control scenarios. The most potent manipulation convinces you that you're in complete command, that every choice originated from your own will, that any resulting mistakes are entirely your fault. Countless people exist in this state of quiet submission, moved around like game pieces on a board they never knew existed. When they attempt to break free, they're overwhelmed by guilt, anxiety, and self-doubt. They've been emotionally conditioned to suppress resistance. If you believe you're immune to this, pause immediately. That's precisely the mindset skilled manipulators hope to cultivate. This presentation won't coddle you with false reassurance. Instead, it will arm you with practical knowledge, because those who've perfected the craft of manipulation, as Machiavelli recognized, never need to raise their voices or use force. They simply watch, identify your weak points, and strike accordingly. They understand your motivations completely, and if you don't, you'll inevitably be controlled by them. You'll discover the methods people use to manipulate without detection. You'll learn to spot the patterns, the emotional manipulation tactics, the sophisticated control mechanisms. You'll identify your own points of vulnerability and develop mental defenses, because genuine freedom isn't about acting on every impulse, but understanding the true source of your desires. This is a rallying cry for those exhausted by being exploited, for those who've endured in silence, been scapegoated, hushed, and programmed. Here, you'll transition from the role of marionette to master strategist. However, I must caution you, once you gain this awareness, you can never return to willful ignorance. So prepare yourself, because what you're about to learn has the potential to fundamentally transform how you perceive both others and yourself. Have you ever observed how certain individuals consistently achieve their objectives? Even when they clearly don't merit success, they never resort to shouting, intimidation, or pleading. Instead, they convince. They captivate. They make you believe that surrendering was entirely your own brilliant idea. This isn't natural charm, it's a calculated method. It represents manipulation at its most refined and devastating level. The skilled manipulator never acts rashly. They watch and analyze you thoroughly. Your responses, your insecurities, your emotional requirements. They detect when you crave validation, when you dread being rejected, when guilt consumes you for refusing requests, and they exploit these vulnerabilities ruthlessly. The manipulation process begins long before any words are spoken. It commences with the silent analysis of your posture, your vocal inflections, the gaps between your statements. Some wield charm as their weapon. They flash smiles, shower you with praise, position themselves as uniquely different. They craft an illusion where you feel truly understood, genuinely valued, utterly special. Yet beneath this mask of warmth lies cold calculation. They are weaving an emotional contract that binds you to them. When someone appears impossibly wonderful, human nature compels you to match their energy. This is precisely when your defenses crumble. Others deploy guilt as their preferred strategy. They cast themselves as perpetual victims. They whisper of being overwhelmed, misunderstood, abandoned by everyone except you. Step by step, they transform you into their emotional caretaker. When you attempt to create distance or refuse their requests, they never resort to confrontation. A heavy sigh, a sharp comment, a wounded expression, these are sufficient. The skilled manipulator never makes direct demands. Instead, they orchestrate situations where you voluntarily surrender. Then there are those who weaponize fear. They paint apocalyptic futures. Abandon this path, and you'll die alone. Leave me, and you'll never encounter anyone who truly understands you. They don't shackle you with physical restraints, but with poisonous thoughts. They erode your confidence in your own judgment. Consequently, you remain imprisoned by your own choice. These tactics are ancient wisdom. Niccolo Machiavelli in The Prince dissected with clinical precision how manipulation serves as a legitimate instrument of control. He recognized before others that humans are governed by self-interest and emotion, and those who master this knowledge can reshape entire worlds. As he observed, people trust their eyes more than their hands, for everyone can observe, but few can truly grasp. Manipulation is exactly this, a carefully constructed performance designed to masquerade as truth. The manipulator stages an elaborate production, and you unknowingly become an actor in their drama. They distribute the roles, craft the dialogue, and direct your every move. The most chilling aspect? You're convinced the story belongs to you, but this performance succeeds only because something within you enables it. A void, an emotional fragility, an unacknowledged hunger. This brings us to the crucial next element, the vulnerability that marks you as prey. Until you recognize what makes you susceptible, you will continue falling victim to manipulation while mistaking it for love, friendship, or admiration. Let's illuminate this truth now. You don't fall prey to manipulation because you lack strength. You become a target because you possess humanity, because every person carries an emotional blind spot, an unfulfilled longing, an unhealed trauma, a quiet desperation that creates an opening. This is where the manipulator strikes. They don't use force. They observe. They detect what remains hidden even from yourself. Many of us harbor an endless hunger for validation. From childhood, we were conditioned to earn love through compliance. We discovered that affection arrives as compensation, not as an inherent right. And so we began molding our behavior to gain acceptance, recognition, acknowledgement. This yearning, this emptiness within us becomes a gateway for the manipulator. They offer fragments of recognition, and you respond with unwavering devotion. They speak the words you long to hear, and in return, you surrender your independence. Others bear shame like an unseen weight. They condemn themselves for refusing requests, for choosing themselves, for establishing limits. They were programmed to believe that self-consideration is narcissistic, that self-sacrifice is noble, which is why even when intuition signals danger, they remain passive, convinced they're being too critical, unappreciative, heartless. The manipulator recognizes this shame. They position themselves as someone who seeks only your welfare, and through this, they begin directing your choices through corrupted ethics. And then, there are those who harbor terror. Terror of abandonment, terror of isolation, terror of being discarded. These individuals grasp at any relationship, however destructive, rather than confront emptiness. The manipulator provides an illusion of safety, then threatens its removal. They convince you that without their presence, you are nothing, and you accept this because your terror whispered it long before they arrived. All these weaknesses have roots. They don't emerge spontaneously. They stem from previous wounds, unspoken traumas, passed down emotional patterns. But until you face these injuries, they remain festering, and those who approach with false warmth and hidden agendas know precisely where to strike. Machiavelli recognized this truth. He grasped that genuine dominance requires no violence, only understanding of human frailties. The character of people is changeable, he observed, and it's simple to persuade them of something, but challenging to maintain that persuasion. The manipulator, therefore, doesn't persuade. They inhabit vacant territories. They establish themselves where consciousness is absent, but escape remains possible. You need not remain emotionally transparent. You can master the art of recognizing your own deficiencies and fortify them. Only then will you cease being vulnerable prey and begin existing with understanding. And that's precisely what we will uncover in the following section. How to forge genuine emotional protection. Building authentic defense against manipulation. Are you prepared to escape captivity? The path ahead demands bravery. Many desire to break free from manipulation, yet few will accept the cost of emotional liberation, the harsh reality of self-awareness. Truth liberates, but it wounds first. The initial injury to address is the fantasy that kindness, compassion, and tolerance shield you from harm. They offer no protection. These qualities, when lacking discernment, actually make you vulnerable prey. Building emotional resilience isn't about growing heartless, it's about gaining consciousness. It's about halting the reflexive responses to psychological buttons that manipulators press, and recognizing your behavioral patterns is the foundation. Pause and examine yourself. Which vulnerabilities cause you to surrender? The dread of letting others down, the terror of abandonment, the compulsion to maintain harmony regardless of consequences. Once you grasp your motivations, you transform the dynamic. The second phase involves developing what Machiavelli termed calculated separation. You must master emotional distance from scenarios while preserving compassion. This involves watching without instant engagement. It means refusing to accept flattery as gospel truth. It means recognizing when someone steers you through feelings and taking a moment to reason before responding. The manipulator depends on your emotional haste. They require you to feel rather than analyze. So analyze. The third phase is becoming unreadable. Manipulators depend on consistency. They chart your reactions. They understand that tears will earn your comfort, praise will lower your defenses, pressure will secure your compliance. Your protection rests in shattering these expectations. Catch them off guard. Refuse when they anticipate agreement. Vanish when they expect persistence. Remain quiet when they anticipate conflict. This neutralizes their strategy and compels them to expose their real motives. Another crucial element is forging an unshakable sense of self. The deeper your self-knowledge, the less you need external validation, and the less validation you seek, the weaker others' influence becomes. Manipulators flourish by controlling your self-perception. They plant seeds of uncertainty, make you question everything, force constant self-examination, all serving their agenda. When your inner compass is unwavering, outside forces lose their grip on you. Don't be misled. This is discipline. Emotional resilience isn't acquired through watching content. It emerges from relentless self-awareness, rejecting the compulsion to satisfy others, maintaining your choices even when tension fills the room. It stems from understanding that your only debt is to your own mental clarity, and preserving your sanity in a world of emotional manipulation is itself a form of rebellion. Machiavelli observed that people must either be won over completely or crushed entirely, for those merely wounded will seek vengeance. This insight is brutal, yet it exposes an uncomfortable reality. In power dynamics, neutrality is impossible. You either command the emotional landscape or become its victim. But what happens when the manipulator shares your home, your workplace, your bed? How do you respond when severing ties isn't an option? In what follows, we'll explore the more intricate domain of manipulation within intimate bonds and how to break free from emotional control even when the controller is someone you cherish. And this may prove the ultimate test of your resolve. It's simple to discuss manipulation when dealing with strangers. The challenge arises when confronting this reality with someone you care about: a parent, a spouse, a mentor who believed in you, a lifelong friend. Here, manipulation becomes more refined, more treacherous, and more agonizing because it masquerades as love, protection, devotion, and you, terrified of severing the bond, remain ensnared in an emotional maze that drains your vitality, your perception, your sense of self. The intimate manipulator has no need for lies. They twist truth. They don't raise their voice. They plant suggestions. They don't prevent your choices. They burden you with shame for choosing your own path. Gradually, you cease questioning. You begin treading carefully. You dodge confrontations. You predict responses to maintain harmony. And unknowingly, you become captive in an invisible cage constructed from emotional manipulation. In romance, this masquerades as devotion. I act this way only because I care for you. My existence means nothing without you. But love that demands surrender isn't love. It's emotional coercion. Within families, it wears the mask of heritage. You cannot treat your mother this way. You owe us honor. But honor born from shame isn't honor, it's domination. In professional settings, it appears as dedication. You must show appreciation. Who else would offer you such an opportunity? But appreciation weaponized as obligation is nothing but manipulation. And here lies the crucial truth. Closeness doesn't excuse emotional abuse. Love doesn't grant permission to mold another through fear or shame. To shatter this pattern, you must first embrace an unsettling truth. Not every relationship built on care is wholesome. Not every person who claims to love you understands how to love without chains. And not every connection that binds you is safeguarding you. Some are merely blocking your evolution. So what's the path forward? Begin with establishing limits. Clear, unwavering limits that require no defense. A calm refusal carries more weight than endless debates. Next comes transparency. Speak what you observe, what you experience, what you refuse to tolerate any longer. Not to persuade them, but to validate yourself to yourself. And finally, hold your ground when the backlash arrives, because it inevitably will. Accusations, playing victim, weaponized silence. The manipulator thrives on your uncertainty, probing your resolve, hoping you'll retreat. And here lies the truth most lack the strength to confront. Sometimes caring for someone means walking away, means leaving the toxic choreography and allowing them to face their own void, because while you remain there attempting to rescue, support, or rationalize, they won't transform and you'll disappear. It's a harsh decision, but an essential one, because only those who liberate themselves from poisonous connections can cultivate a different kind of perception, one that sees past words, past facades, past hollow gestures. And with this fresh perspective, we move into the following phase. How to employ Machiavelli's tactical wisdom in contemporary existence to keep your mind protected in a reality where everything and everyone seeks to sway you. The moment has arrived to reverse the dynamic. Machiavelli never wrote for approval. He was indifferent to seeming moral, noble, or benevolent. His dedication was to stark, unfiltered truth, the variety most choose to overlook. And if you wish to endure mentally in this current age, you must learn to reason as he did, with merciless precision, calculated approach, and emotional distance. Because understand this clearly, we exist in a time of perpetual manipulation. Digital platforms, advertising, governance, faith, connections, everything functions through influence, appearance, storytelling. Those who fail to grasp this are consumed by it. Machiavelli viewed humans as foreseeable, motivated by self-interest and feelings, and he declared that those who comprehend these forces wield control. He stated, "People typically judge more with their sight than with their touch. All can observe, but few can truly grasp." Put simply, appearance matters more than reality, and that's the game's foundation today. Those who shape the story shape the choices. Those who craft the image wield the power, and those who grasp the inner workings of the mind can direct others' actions without ever speaking above a whisper. What does this look like in practice? It means abandoning the habit of emotional reactivity. Machiavelli rejected the idea of absolute moral truths. He embraced situational wisdom. What strengthens one person may cripple another. What appears virtuous in principle can prove disastrous in execution. Compassion without judgment becomes naivety. Truth without proper timing becomes self-destruction. Boundless giving becomes enslavement. To achieve true freedom, you must master the art of strategic engagement. This begins with careful observation. Study people as Machiavelli studied the aristocrats, not through their declarations, but through their actions when they believe themselves unobserved. Examine conduct, not pledges. Decode recurring behaviors, not justifications. Place greater faith in actions than in the concealed motives that drive them. Most crucially, resist the urge to react. Instead, predict. The schemer operates with calculated precision. Your protection lies in staying perpetually ahead of their moves. Then wield silence as your tool. One of the gravest errors people commit is revealing too much of their emotional landscape. They expose too much. They speak too much. They justify too much. The strategic mind recognizes that silence breeds uncertainty, demands reverence, and throws off the manipulator's timing. When you fail to respond as anticipated, their playbook becomes useless, and in that uncertainty, you seize command. Another crucial skill is embracing calculated ambiguity. Machiavelli demonstrated that preserving authority requires the ability to project virtue without necessarily embodying it. In today's context, this means adjusting your communication, your bearing, your energy to match each situation while preserving your core identity. Complete transparency is unnecessary. You need only reveal enough to shape how others perceive you. Everything else remains yours alone, because true influence lies in what remains hidden. Above all, claim ownership of your emotional responses. The manipulator thrives on your instability. They require you to question yourself, to fear, to waver. When you achieve self-knowledge, maintain self-control, and stay unwavering even under attack, you become unbreachable. As Machiavelli observed, the wise person should walk in the footsteps of the great and study those who have achieved excellence, so that even if they cannot match their heights, they may approach their level. In essence, harness the insights of those who conquered the system to cease being a mere piece on their board. Now that you grasp the mechanics of manipulation and how to strategically shield yourself from it, a single question persists. What comes next? How do you convert this understanding into tangible power, into a fresh mode of being that remains untouchable by outside forces? This is what we shall delve into in our concluding segment: how to seize command of your own consciousness and ensure no one ever manipulates you again. Are you prepared to sever the final invisible chains that still bind you? Then let us proceed. We have arrived at the most crucial juncture of this discussion, and perhaps the most difficult truth to embrace. Until you claim complete dominion over your mind, another will claim it for you. And this person need not be a scheming antagonist or an obvious manipulative archetype. Sometimes it's the person with the warm smile beside you. Sometimes it's a comment you absorbed in childhood that you still carry today without examination. Sometimes it's society itself, molding you from your earliest years to comply, surrender, and stay quiet. The manipulation affecting you extends beyond others' words. It lives in the thoughts you never learn to examine. It exists in the emotions you mistake for undeniable facts. It hides in the decisions you label as choices, but which were actually driven by fear, shame, and the hunger for approval. Liberation starts when you stop calling free will what is, in truth, concealed programming. But this liberation demands a price. It requires you to shatter the fantasy that everyone means well. It insists that you tear down the self-image you've constructed of someone who must always be pleasant, compassionate, and accessible. It requires you to endure the unease of establishing limits, the heaviness of quiet after refusing, the isolation of withdrawing from patterns that damaged you, but which felt like pieces of who you are. You will cease being manipulated when you realize that you no longer require validation. When the dread of disappointing others no longer governs your choices, when your insight outweighs your desperation, and when at last you can meet the gaze of those who attempted to control you and quietly declare, "Enough." What you do with this understanding now rests entirely with you. You can return to your routine and erase everything. Keep participating in the game without recognizing you're being played. Or you can begin today to strengthen your mind, to watch, evaluate, resist, and reconstruct. You can choose to become someone who doesn't yield to emotional manipulation, who sees past the facades, who moves with purpose even when everyone around stumbles in confusion. At what point in your journey did you recognize you were being manipulated? What was the revelation that made you see clearly? Or are you still trapped in some emotional web and seeking guidance to escape? And if this discussion awakens something in you, don't end here. Continue to the next part. It carries equal importance to this one, perhaps greater. Understanding is a staircase, and each level lifts you further from the shadows. So keep ascending. Because truth doesn't merely liberate you, it transforms you completely. Until we meet again.